The cantina on Zirian Station buzzed with the usual mix of traders, smugglers, and mercenaries. Smoke from a dozen different worlds curled through recycled air, while alien languages created a symphony of business deals and broken dreams. In the darkest corner booth, three figures hunched over a holographic display that cast eerie blue light across their scarred faces. Vextar, a Korthani with cybernetic implants replacing half his skull, tapped the display with a clawed finger. Target acquired 3 hours ago. Human male, designation, Marcus Chun. Bounty posted by the Galactic Trade Consortium for theft of classified data. His partner, a reptilian saurid named Hisk, flicked his forked tongue. Reward amount, 50,000 credits. Dead or alive. Vextar's mechanical I whirred as it focused. Easy money. Humans are soft, weak creatures. This one works as a maintenance technician on level 7. Should be simple. The third bounty hunter, a hulking Gorvani with stone-like skin, grunted his approval. Rusk likes easy jobs. When do we move? Now. Vextar closed the hologram and stood. According to station records, the target just clocked in for his shift. Maintenance tunnels, section C7. We corner him there. No witnesses, no complications. The trio made their way through the station's maze of corridors, past merchant stalls selling everything from Alterian silk to Proxima crystals. Zirian Station served as a neutral hub between 3 different galactic sectors, making it the perfect place for both criminals and those who hunted them. The bounty hunters moved with practiced efficiency, their weapons hidden beneath long coats. Level 7 was quieter than the commercial sections above. Here, the station's vital systems hummed behind access panels and reinforced doors. The air smelled of ozone and lubricants, punctuated by the occasional hiss of hydraulic systems. Emergency lighting cast long shadows that danced whenever someone passed beneath them. Target should be in Maintenance Bay 12, Vextar whispered, consulting his scanner. Life signs indicate one human, no other species detected. They found Marcus Chun exactly where the work orders said he would be. He was an unremarkable man in his 30s, wearing the standard gray coveralls of station maintenance. His dark hair was slightly mussed, and a small scar crossed his left cheek. He knelt beside an open panel, tools spread around him as he worked on some internal mechanism. When he heard footsteps, he looked up with mild curiosity. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" Marcus asked, his voice carrying a slight accent from one of the outer colonies. This section's restricted to authorized personnel. Vextar stepped forward, his hand moving toward his weapon. "Marcus Chun, you're under arrest by authority of the Bounty Hunters Guild. Come quietly, and this doesn't have to get messy." Marcus blinked, seemingly confused. "I think you have a wrong person. I'm just a maintenance worker. Been here for 3 months, never caused any trouble. Scans confirmed your identity." Hisk hissed, his own weapon now visible. "Human DNA, facial recognition, voice pattern analysis. You are Marcus Chun, wanted for theft of classified consortium data." "Look, I don't know anything about stolen data." Marcus slowly stood, his hands raised in a peaceful gesture. "Check the station records. I repair air recyclers and fix broken water pumps. That's all I do." Rusk laughed, a sound like grinding stones. "Humans always lie when cornered, like frightened prey animals." Vextar activated his wrist scanner, pointing it at Marcus. The device hummed as it gathered biometric data. Confirmed identity. Marcus Chun, age 32, from the agricultural world of Kepler Prime. Previous employment with Consortium Research Division before disappearing 6 months ago with classified xenobiology files. Xenobiology. Marcus looked genuinely puzzled. "I studied basic engineering at a community college. Never worked in research. Never even been off-planet until I came here looking for work." "Your lies grow tiresome," Hisk said, raising his plasma pistol. "Perhaps pain will loosen your tongue about the data's location." Something changed in Marcus's expression. The confusion faded, replaced by a calculating coldness that seemed out of place on his ordinary face. He lowered his hands slowly, no longer appearing quite so harmless. "You're making a mistake," he said quietly. "A big one." Vextar laughed. "The mistake would be letting you escape. Humans are weak, your species conquered easily, always running from superior races. You have no advantages here." "Actually," Marcus said, his voice taking on a different quality, "I do." Before any of the bounty hunters could react, Marcus moved. He wasn't fast by alien standards, but he moved with absolute precision. His left hand grabbed a plasma torch from his toolkit, while his right swept up a metal plate, using it as a shield as he rolled behind a support pillar. Hisk fired, his plasma bolt striking where Marcus had been standing a split second earlier. The energy burst left a smoking crater in the floor plating. "Spread out," Vextar commanded. "Surround him. He's just a frightened human." But Marcus wasn't acting frightened anymore. From his cover behind the pillar, he called out, "You access my files, right? Standard bounty hunter procedure." "Of course," Vextar replied, moving to flank the pillar. "We know everything about you, little human." "Do you?" Marcus's voice carried an odd note of amusement. "Did you access my consortium files, or just the public records?" Rusk charged around the other side of the pillar, expecting to find a cowering maintenance worker. Instead, he found empty air. Marcus had vanished. "Where did he go?" Hisk demanded, his reptilian head swiveling as he searched for heat signatures. A tool wrench flew out of the shadows, striking Hisk's weapon hand with surgical precision. The plasma pistol spun away across the floor as the sword hissed in pain. "The thing about maintenance workers," Marcus's voice came from somewhere in the maze of pipes and conduits above them, "is that we know every inch of the systems we maintain. Every access tunnel, every service way, every hiding spot." Vextar fired his weapon toward the voice, but the energy beam struck only empty air. "Show yourself, coward! Coward!" Marcus dropped silently from a maintenance shaft behind Rusk, landing with cat-like grace. Before the massive Gorvani could turn, Marcus had pressed the plasma torch against a specific point on the alien's back. Pressure point 17. Learned that in basic anatomy class. Rusk collapsed, temporarily paralyzed by the precisely applied heat. His stone-like skin could resist most weapons, but not targeted nerve disruption. Vextar spun around, bringing his weapon to bear, but Marcus was already moving again. He rolled beneath a bank of control consoles, emerging on Vextar's blind side. "The Corthani cybernetic, I couldn't track him fast enough." "Your cybernetics have a weakness," Marcus said conversationally as he avoided another plasma blast. "Electromagnetic pulse, even a small one, can disrupt the neural interface." He touched two specific wires in an open control panel, creating a brief but intense electromagnetic field. Vextar stumbled as his cybernetic implants flickered and reset. Hisk had recovered his weapon and was trying to get a clear shot, but Marcus stayed mobile, using the maintenance bay's layout to his advantage. He seemed to know exactly where every piece of equipment was located, moving through the space like he designed it himself. "Impossible," Hisk hissed. "Humans are not this capable. You are supposed to be weak." "Weak?" Marcus emerged from behind a generator housing, now holding a modified plasma cutter. "Did you access my complete consortium files?" "Of course we did." Vextar snarled, his cybernetics coming back online. "Human researcher, stole xenobiology data, fled to avoid prosecution." Marcus smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Then you accessed the decoy files. The ones meant for bounty hunters who don't dig deep enough." He triggered the plasma cutter, sending a controlled energy beam that severed the power coupling to Hisk's weapon. The plasma pistol died in the sword's hands. "You see, the Galactic Trade Consortium has layers of classification. Public records, restricted files, classified documents, and then..." Marcus paused as he disabled Rusk's backup weapon with another precise tool throw. "Black files. The ones that don't officially exist." Vextar was backing toward the exit, his mechanical eye recording everything. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you should have accessed my real files," Marcus replied, advancing slowly. "The ones that explain why a supposedly ordinary human has been living quietly on Zirian Station for 3 months, why the consortium is so eager to find me, and why they posted the bounty as dead or alive instead of just alive." The 3 bounty hunters found themselves cornered now, their weapons disabled, their target revealed as something far more dangerous than expected. "The files you accessed," Marcus continued, "show Marcus Chun, research assistant, stole some minor xenobiology data. Standard theft case, standard bounty. But those are my real files." Hisk's forked tongue flicked nervously. "Then who are you?" Marcus reached into his coveralls and pulled out a small device. When he activated it, a holographic display appeared, showing a completely different set of records. records that made all three bounty hunters step backward in shock. Project Lazarus, classification level, Omega Black. Subject designation, Asset 7. Combat effectiveness rating, extreme threat. Psychological profile, stable but unpredictable. Current status, missing, presumed active. The hologram continued displaying information that sent chills through the bounty hunters. Combat training records showing proficiency with every known weapon type. Psychological evaluations indicating resistance to torture and interrogation. Medical files documenting enhancement procedures that pushed human capabilities to their theoretical limits. The consortium didn't just employ me, Marcus said quietly. They made me, enhanced me, trained me. And when I discovered what they were really doing with their research, I disappeared. Vextar's mechanical, I was recording everything, transmitting the data back to his ship's computer. This is impossible. Humans don't have enhancement technology advanced enough to what? Marcus interrupted. To make someone fast enough to disarm 3 experienced bounty hunters without killing them? Strong enough to survive in hostile environments? Smart enough to hide in plain sight for months while the galaxy's best hunters searched for him? Rusk was struggling to move, the nerve disruption slowly wearing off. If you're so dangerous, why not kill us? Marcus considered the question seriously. Because I'm trying to be better than what they made me. The old Marcus Chun would have eliminated all threats immediately. The new one gives people choices. He gestured toward the exit. You have a choice now. Walk away. Delete the recording. Forget you ever found me. Go collect some other bounty and pretend this never happened. The consortium will keep sending hunters, Hiss pointed out. This bounty will never disappear. No, Marcus agreed. It won't. But maybe the next group will be smart enough to access the real files before they make their move. Vextar was already backing toward the corridor. His cybernetic implants were feeding him threat assessment data that recommended immediate retreat. This contract, this is not worth 50,000 credits. Actually, Marcus said with that cold smile, the real bounty is considerably higher. Check your updated files when you get back to your ship. The 3 bounty hunters exchanged glances. They were professionals who had survived by knowing when to fight and when to retreat. This was definitely a retreat situation. As they moved toward the exit, Rusk managed to stand upright again. What will you do now? More hiding. Marcus was already gathering his tools, preparing to relocate once again. What I always do, stay ahead of the hunt, try to help people when I can, and hope someday the consortium stops looking for their lost asset. And if they don't stop, Marcus picked up his plasma torch, checking its power level with practiced efficiency. Then, someday they'll send someone good enough to actually catch me. Until then, he looked directly at each bounty hunter in turn. I suggest you update your target selection criteria. Not all humans are as harmless as they appear. The bounty hunters left quickly, their confidence shattered by the encounter with someone who had turned their assumptions upside down. As their footsteps faded, Marcus activated a small device that would scramble the maintenance bay's security recordings. By the time station security arrived to investigate the energy discharges, he would be gone. But not far. Zirian Station was large, and there were always broken systems that needed repair. Marcus Chun would simply become another face in the crowd, another maintenance worker in gray coveralls. At least until the next group of hunters arrived with better intel. 2 weeks after the encounter in Maintenance Bay 12, the news reached every corner of Zirian Station through the underground networks that thrived in places where 3 galactic governments pretended not to watch each other. The story spread through cantinas, back-alley markets, and smuggler dens with the speed that only truly shocking information could achieve. 3 experienced bounty hunters had encountered a human maintenance worker and walked away empty-handed. Not only that, but they had actively warned other hunters away from the contract. Vextar, Hisk, and Rusk were known throughout the sector as competent professionals who didn't scare easily. When word got out that they had refused to file a completion report and had actually upgraded the target's threat rating in the guild database, the entire bounty hunting community took notice. Marcus Chun became a ghost story that maintenance workers told each other during shift changes. The ordinary human who wasn't ordinary at all. The repair technician who could dismantle experienced killers as easily as he fixed broken equipment. But Marcus himself had more immediate concerns than his growing reputation. He sat in a different cantina now, 3 levels up from his previous hiding spot, nursing a cup of synthetic coffee while studying the departures board on his datapad. Every instinct screamed at him to leave Zirian Station, to disappear into the vast network of space lanes and forgotten worlds that had hidden him for 6 months. The problem was the ship. Marcus had arrived on Zirian Station aboard a cargo freighter, paying for passage by working in the engine room. Standard procedure for someone trying to stay invisible. But the freighter was gone, and getting off the station without proper documentation was proving more difficult than expected. "Excuse me, are you Marcus?" The voice belonged to a young Altarian woman with the distinctive blue-tinged skin and silver eyes of her species. She wore the practical clothes of a mid-level station employee, but her nervous posture suggested she wasn't used to approaching strangers in cantinas. Marcus looked up from his datapad, automatically cataloging exit routes and potential threats. The woman appeared to be alone, but appearances meant nothing in his experience. "Depends who's asking," he replied cautiously. "My name is Zara Helnara. I work in the station's xenobiology lab." She hesitated, then sat down across from him without invitation. "I heard what happened in the maintenance bay. The stories all over the research levels. Stories have a way of getting exaggerated," Marcus said, not confirming or denying anything. Zara leaned forward, lowering her voice. "The enhancement records in your black files mention xenobiology procedures. Specifically, integration of non-human genetic material to improve human combat effectiveness." Marcus went very still. "You access classified files?" "Not me personally," Zara admitted. "But someone did, and they shared certain information with people who might be sympathetic to your situation." "What situation would that be?" "Being hunted by the organization that created you." Zara pulled out her own datapad, showing him a news feed from the consortium networks. "They've tripled the bounty, 150,000 credits, and they've changed the terms to alive only. That means they want you back, not dead." Marcus studied the updated bounty notice. His photo stared back at him, along with a detailed description and a warning about his enhanced capabilities. The consortium had obviously decided that Subtle was no longer working. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Because what they did to you, they're planning to do to others," Zara said quietly. "The xenobiology lab here isn't just researching alien species. We're developing enhancement protocols for human subjects. The consortium has contracts with 12 different research stations." The information hit Marcus like a plasma blast. He had assumed his case was unique, an isolated experiment. The possibility that the consortium was creating more enhanced humans had haunted his nightmares, but he had hoped it was just paranoia. "How many?" he asked. "We don't know. The project files are compartmentalized. Each station only sees part of the program." Zara glanced around nervously. "But based on the equipment orders and genetic material requests, there could be dozens, maybe hundreds." Marcus closed his datapad and stood up. "Thank you for the warning, but I can't help with whatever you're planning. I'm just trying to survive." "Wait." Zara grabbed his arm, then immediately released it when she felt the tension in his muscles. "There's more. The bounty hunters aren't the only ones looking for you." "Explain." "A consortium research ship docked here yesterday. Official manifest says they're here for routine equipment maintenance, but my sources say they brought a capture team. Military-grade specialists with containment equipment designed specifically for enhanced humans." Marcus felt the familiar cold calculation settling over his mind, the enhanced neural pathways that turned him from ordinary human into something approaching a living weapon. The consortium was escalating beyond bounty hunters to direct action. That meant they were either desperate or confident. Neither option was good for him. "How long before they move?" he asked. "Unknown. But they've been scanning station records, mapping your known locations, interviewing your former contacts." Zara paused. "They know where you've been living." Marcus had rented a small compartment in the civilian quarters, paying cash and using forged identification that had served him well for months. If the consortium had tracked him there, his situation had just become critical. "I need to go," he said, already planning his route to the compartment. He had emergency supplies hidden there, along with equipment that would be difficult to replace. "That's exactly what they're expecting," Zara warned. "They have the residential level monitored. Motion sensors, thermal imaging, automated security systems. The moment you enter that section, they'll know. Marcus paused. Then, I'm trapped. Not necessarily. Zara activated her datapad again, showing him a schematic of the station's layout. There's another way. The Xenobiology lab has direct access to the residential level through maintenance tunnels. Officially, it's for emergency evacuations, but we use it to move sensitive materials without going through public areas. Why would you help me? Because stopping the consortium's enhancement program is bigger than any one person, Zara replied. What they did to you, what they're planning to do to others, it's wrong. Humans shouldn't be turned into weapons. Marcus studied the schematic, memorizing the tunnel routes and potential choke points. It was a reasonable plan, but it required trusting someone he had just met. Trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. What do you want in return? He asked. Information. The enhancement procedures you underwent, the training methods they used, the psychological conditioning. Anything that could help us understand and potentially counter their program. That information is dangerous. In the wrong hands, it could be used to create more enhanced soldiers. In the right hands, it could save lives, Zara countered. People who are being selected for the program without their knowledge. Researchers who are being manipulated into participating without understanding the full scope. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, weighing options and calculating risks. The enhanced tactical processing that the consortium had installed in his brain ran through dozens of scenarios, but they all came down to the same basic choice: trust or isolation. The tunnels, he said finally. How secure are they? Biometric locks, but I have access. Emergency lighting only, but that shouldn't be a problem for someone with your enhancements. Zara hesitated. There is one complication, which is the lab is currently running an experiment. Genetic modification trials on volunteer subjects. If we go through now, you'll see things that might be disturbing. Marcus almost smiled at that. I've seen disturbing things before. They left the cantina separately, Zara heading back toward the research levels while Marcus took a circuitous route through the commercial sectors. He moved casually, just another maintenance worker finishing his shift, but his enhanced senses were cataloging every face, every potential threat, every possible escape route. The consortium capture team would be good, but they would be operating under certain assumptions about human capabilities, even enhanced ones. Marcus had learned over the months of running that most people, even trained professionals, couldn't quite accept that a human could be genuinely dangerous. They understood it intellectually, but emotionally, humans were still the species that had been conquered and categorized as low threat in most galactic databases. That assumption had kept him alive more than once. The Xenobiology lab was located in a restricted section that required authorization to enter. Zara met him at a service entrance, her nervous energy replaced by professional competence once they were in her domain. Stay close and don't touch anything, she warned as they moved through sterile corridors lined with containment units and analysis equipment. Some of these experiments are potentially lethal to unprotected humans. Define unprotected, Marcus asked, noting the various warning signs and hazard indicators. Standard humans without genetic modifications or protective gear. Zara glanced at him curiously. Your enhancement files mentioned improved resistance to toxins and radiation. Is that accurate? To some degree. Marcus didn't elaborate. The truth was that the consortium's modifications had made him resistant to most common poisons and able to function in environments that would kill ordinary humans, but he had learned not to share the full extent of his capabilities. They passed through a series of laboratories where researchers in protective suits worked with samples that glowed, moved, or defied easy categorization. Marcus caught glimpses of genetic sequencing equipment, cellular reconstruction chambers, and something that looked disturbingly like a human spine suspended in a tank of green fluid. What exactly are you researching here? He asked. Officially? Methods to help humans adapt to alien environments. Genetic therapies to prevent diseases caused by exposure to non-terrestrial organisms. Zara's voice carried a bitter note. Unofficially, ways to make humans into better weapons. They reached the access tunnel entrance, a heavy door marked with biohazard warnings and emergency evacuation procedures. Zara placed her hand on the scanner, and the door cycled open with a soft hiss. The tunnel beyond was exactly as she had described, dimly lit, narrow, and obviously designed for emergency use rather than regular traffic. But it was also something else. It was occupied. Marcus reacted instantly, pulling Zara behind him as plasma fire erupted from the darkness ahead. The capture team hadn't been waiting at his quarters after all. They had been monitoring the research lab, waiting for exactly this sort of desperate escape attempt. Dr. Helnera, a voice called from the tunnel. Step away from the target. This doesn't concern you. Zara pressed herself against the tunnel wall, her face pale in the emergency lighting. They knew, she whispered. They knew I would try to help you. Marcus was already assessing the tactical situation. The tunnel was a kill box, designed to channel movement in predictable directions. The capture team would have positioned themselves to cover all possible escape routes. Standard military procedure for dealing with enhanced targets. But the consortium had made one mistake in their planning. They had assumed he would try to escape. Marcus Chun, the voice continued. You are ordered to surrender for transport back to consortium facilities. Compliance will result in minimal physical restraint. Resistance will be met with appropriate force. Marcus activated his comm unit, broadcasting on the frequency he had memorized from the bounty hunter's equipment. Vextar, Hisk, Rusk. If you're monitoring consortium communications, you might want to listen to this. Then he stepped into the tunnel, hands raised but ready to move. I'm coming out. Don't shoot. The capture team was professional. Marcus had to give them credit for that. 5 soldiers in military-grade armor, positioned to provide overlapping fields of fire while maintaining cover. Their equipment was specifically designed for capturing enhanced humans alive, neural disruptors, electromagnetic restraints, chemical suppressants. But they were still operating under the fundamental assumption that had doomed every group that had hunted him so far. They thought they knew what they were dealing with. Lie down on the ground, the team leader ordered. Arms spread, no sudden movements. Marcus complied slowly, but his enhanced hearing was picking up something the soldiers couldn't detect. The soft whisper of movement in the air recycling system above them. Someone else was in the tunnels. Containment Protocol 7, the team leader announced. Subject is cooperative. Prepare for transport. The neural disruptor came online with a high-pitched whine, designed to overwhelm his enhanced nervous system. But Marcus had been anticipating this moment for months, planning for the day when the consortium finally cornered him. The modifications they had made to his brain included more than just tactical processing and enhanced reflexes. They had also included certain defensive protocols that activated under extreme stress. The neural disruptor fired, sending focused electromagnetic pulses designed to incapacitate him. Instead, Marcus smiled and stood up. Impossible. One of the soldiers breathed. The disruptor should have worked on a normal enhanced human, Marcus agreed. But I'm not normal, even by consortium standards. He moved faster than human reflexes could follow, faster than the soldiers' armor systems could compensate. But, more importantly, he moved with the absolute precision of someone who had been designed to be the perfect weapon. The tunnel erupted into chaos as Marcus demonstrated exactly why the consortium wanted him back alive. The first soldier went down before his finger could reach the trigger of his backup weapon. Marcus moved like flowing water, every motion calculated for maximum efficiency with minimal energy expenditure. His enhanced muscle memory allowed him to strike at precisely the right angle to disrupt the soldier's armor systems while avoiding lethal damage. The second soldier had managed to fire his weapon, but Marcus was no longer where the targeting system indicated he should be. The plasma bolt struck the tunnel wall, leaving a molten crater that filled the air with acrid smoke. Containment breach, the team leader shouted into his comm unit. Asset 7 is active and non-compliant, requesting immediate backup. Marcus grabbed the fallen soldier's weapon and modified it in 3 quick motions, his enhanced understanding of technology allowing him to reprogram its targeting system and power output. What had been a capture weapon became something far more dangerous. But he didn't kill anyone. That was the thing that had surprised the consortium most when he escaped their facility 6 months ago. For all their psychological conditioning, all their attempts to create the perfect weapon, Marcus had retained something they couldn't program out: the choice to be better than his design. The third soldier activated a gravity field generator, trying to pin Marcus to the tunnel floor. The device worked perfectly, creating a localized gravitational anomaly that should have rendered any enhanced human immobile. Marcus felt the increased gravity, but continued moving anyway. The consortium's files contained references to his improved bone density and muscle structure, but they didn't mention that his modifications went deeper than biology. His enhanced nervous system could compensate for environmental changes that would cripple other humans. What is he? One of the soldiers demanded as Marcus systematically disabled their equipment with precise energy bursts. Something we weren't prepared for, the team leader admitted, falling back toward the tunnel's other exit. That was when the additional movement Marcus had detected earlier made itself known. A figure dropped from an air recycling shaft above the soldiers, landing silently behind their defensive position. It was another human, wearing dark clothes and moving with the same unnatural precision that Marcus displayed. Asset 12 reporting. The newcomer said calmly. Target acquired. Marcus froze. He recognized the voice, the movement patterns, the enhanced combat capabilities. Another consortium project. Another human who had been taken apart and rebuilt into something designed for war. But this one hadn't escaped. The new arrival disabled the remaining soldiers in seconds, using non-lethal techniques that left them unconscious but alive. When the tunnel fell silent except for the hum of emergency lighting, Marcus found himself facing someone who looked disturbingly familiar. Hello, 7, the other enhanced human said. Command wants you to come home. Marcus studied his counterpart carefully. Asset 12 was a woman in her late 20s with short red hair and scars that suggested recent surgical procedures. Her eyes held the same cold calculation that Marcus recognized from looking in mirrors, but without the humanity he had fought to maintain. I'm not going back, Marcus said quietly. Yes, you are. 12 moved closer, her hands empty but ready. The program has evolved since your departure. New techniques, improved conditioning, better integration protocols. They can fix the flaws that led to your psychological breakdown. Breakdown? Marcus almost laughed. Is that what they're calling it? You exhibited extreme emotional responses to mission parameters. Refused to terminate targets when ordered. Demonstrated unnecessary concern for civilian casualties. 12's voice carried no emotion at all. Classic symptoms of incomplete conditioning. Marcus realized with growing horror that she genuinely believed what she was saying. The consortium had succeeded with her in ways they had failed with him. She had been stripped of everything that made resistance possible. How many others are there? He asked. Classified information. 12 began circling him, maintaining optimal combat distance. But the program is expanding rapidly. Soon there will be enough assets to ensure galactic stability through superior force projection. Galactic stability? Marcus tracked her movement while keeping the tunnel exits in his peripheral vision. You mean galactic control? Semantic distinction without practical difference. 12 paused near one of the unconscious soldiers. Human enhancement represents the next evolutionary step for our species. The consortium is simply accelerating natural selection. Behind them, Zara emerged from the laboratory door where she had taken cover during the firefight. Her face was pale, but she was documenting everything with a small recording device. Dr. Helnara, 12 said without looking away from Marcus. Your cooperation with Asset 7 constitutes treason against authorized consortium operations. You will be detained for interrogation. I don't think so, Marcus replied, moving to place himself between 12 and Zura. You cannot protect her and engage me simultaneously, 12 observed. Your tactical processing should have identified this as an untenable position. My tactical processing identified you as the real threat the moment you spoke, Marcus said. Everything else is secondary. 12 attacked without warning, moving with enhanced speed and precision that matched Marcus's own capabilities. But where Marcus fought with controlled aggression, seeking to disable rather than destroy, 12 fought with mechanical efficiency designed for termination. The tunnel became a blur of motion as two enhanced humans tested the limits of their modifications against each other. Marcus had advantages in experience and tactical flexibility, but 12 had newer enhancements and no psychological constraints against causing permanent damage. They fought across the tunnel's length, their enhanced reflexes turning the combat into something that looked almost choreographed. Every move was countered, every attack blocked or redirected. It was like watching a conversation conducted in violence, each fighter responding to the other's intent before it fully manifested. But Marcus had something 12 lacked: unpredictability. 6 months of running from hunters, thinking creatively, adapting to unexpected situations had taught him to break patterns. The consortium's training was comprehensive, but rigid. When Marcus suddenly shifted from combat techniques to maintenance procedures, using the tunnel's own systems as weapons, 12 couldn't adapt fast enough. He triggered an emergency atmospheric purge that filled the tunnel with suppression foam designed to smother fires. The foam wasn't dangerous, but it limited visibility and mobility, forcing both fighters to rely on enhanced hearing and tactical intuition. Clever, 12's voice came from somewhere in the white foam, but ultimately futile. My enhancements include environmental adaptations that yours lack. She was probably right, Marcus realized. 6 months was a long time in enhancement development. Whatever modifications she carried were likely superior to his own generation. But she had revealed something important. The consortium was still developing new techniques. That meant the program was ongoing, expanding, creating more weapons like themselves. And that meant it had to be stopped. Marcus activated his emergency beacon, the one he had hoped never to use. It would bring help, but it would also reveal his location to every bounty hunter and consortium agent in the sector. Calling for assistance? 12's voice was closer now. Standard procedure when facing superior opposition. Something like that, Marcus agreed. The response came faster than expected. The tunnel's emergency access panel exploded inward, and 3 familiar figures entered through the smoke and foam. Vextar, Hisk, and Rusk had received a transmission and decided to investigate. By the void, Vextar's mechanical eye whirred as it processed the scene. 2 enhanced humans. The bounty hunters, 12 said with what might have been amusement. How convenient. Marcus knew the bounty hunters couldn't match either enhanced human in direct combat, but they had advantages that 12 wouldn't expect: experience, paranoia, and absolutely no loyalty to the consortium. Vextar, Marcus called through the foam. Updated files. How much is the bounty on enhanced human assets? There was a pause while the Corthani accessed his database. Asset 12, 200,000 credits. Asset 7, now listed at 300,000. Both alive only? Marcus asked. Negative. Asset 12 is listed as any condition. Asset 7 remains alive only. Marcus felt a cold satisfaction. The consortium valued him more than their newer model, which meant his escape had damaged their program in ways they couldn't easily repair. But they considered 12 expendable. Did you hear that? Marcus asked 12. You're worth less to them than I am. For the first time, uncertainty crept into 12's voice. Impossible. I am a superior model with enhanced capabilities. You're an experiment, Marcus corrected. A test case to see if they can fix the problems they had with me. But if you fail to bring me back, you become evidence of another failed approach. The foam was beginning to dissipate, revealing the tunnel's occupants. 12 stood near the laboratory entrance, her enhanced senses tracking multiple threats. The bounty hunters were positioned near the residential access, their weapons trained on both enhanced humans. Zara had taken cover behind an emergency supply cabinet, still recording everything. Dr. Helnara, Marcus said without taking his attention off 12. When you publish your research on an enhancement program, make sure you include this conversation. People need to understand what the consortium is really creating. I will, Zara replied, her voice steady despite the circumstances. You cannot stop the program, 12 said. There are too many assets already in development. Too many research facilities. Even if you eliminate this station's research, the project will continue. Maybe, Marcus agreed. But maybe one person making a stand is enough to start others questioning. Maybe information shared at the right time can save some of the people marked for enhancement. Maybe the galaxy isn't ready for humans who've been turned into weapons. He looked directly at the bounty hunters. Your choice. 300,000 credits for bringing me in alive, or helping to stop something that could destabilize the entire galactic order. Vextar's cybernetic implants process probabilities and threat assessments. The consortium has been expanding human enhancement programs across multiple sectors. Economic modeling suggests this could disrupt existing power balances. Translation? Hisk asked. Bad for business, Russ grunted. The bounty hunters exchanged glances, conducting an entire negotiation in a few seconds of silent communication. They had survived by understanding when individual contracts served larger interests and when they conflicted with them. Asset 7, Vextar said formally. We are revising our current contract status. What does that mean? 12 demanded. It means, Marcus said as the bounty hunters raised their weapons, that some things are worth more than credits. The alliance was temporary, pragmatic, and probably doomed. But it was also something the consortium hadn't planned for, cooperation between species that usually competed. Enhanced humans working with bounty hunters. Researchers sharing classified information with outlaws. It was, Marcus realized, exactly the kind of unpredictable response that rigid systems couldn't accommodate. 12 processed this development with mechanical precision, calculating odds and assessing threats. Her enhanced tactical programming identified the new situation as outside acceptable parameters. Transmission to command, she said, activating her comm unit. Mission status compromised. Asset 7 has corrupted local resources. Requesting immediate extraction. Denied, came the response. Complete the mission or face termination of commission. For a moment, something almost human flickered in 12's eyes. The consortium's cold practicality had just demonstrated that she was as expendable as any other tool. Marcus saw the moment of recognition and pressed his advantage. They don't care about you any more than they cared about me. You're just another experiment. Another test case to see how far they can push human enhancement. My mission parameters are clear, 12 replied, but her voice had lost some of its mechanical certainty. Your mission parameters were written by people who see you as equipment, Marcus said. The question is whether you see yourself the same way. The tunnel fell silent except for the hum of recycling systems and the soft whispers of settling foam. Everyone present understood that what happened next would determine more than just the fate of 2 enhanced humans. It would determine whether the future belonged to those who saw humans as weapons to be perfected or as people capable of choosing their own path. The silence stretched for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. Marcus watched 12's face, seeing the conflict between programmed loyalty and dawning awareness play out in her enhanced neural pathways. He had been in her position once, believing that the consortium's vision of human evolution was necessary, inevitable, and ultimately beneficial. The moment of his own awakening had come when he was ordered to eliminate a research station that was developing cures for alien diseases. The targets weren't military assets or strategic threats. They were doctors and scientists whose only crime was working on projects that competed with consortium interests. He had refused a mission and discovered that loyalty was a one-way street in the enhancement program. Asset 12, Marcus said quietly. What was your name? Before they gave you a number? Something flickered behind her enhanced composure. Irrelevant data. Previous identity was archived when enhancement protocols began. I don't believe that, Marcus replied. They try to archive mine too, but some things run deeper than surgical modification. Some memories are stronger than neural conditioning. 12's hand moved unconsciously to a small scar on her neck, just above the collar line. It was the kind of mark that suggested a surgical implant, probably neural interface hardware for direct command input. Dr. Helnara, Marcus said without taking his attention off 12. How much do you know about the neural conditioning protocols? Zara emerged from her cover, consulting her datapad while keeping a careful distance from both enhanced humans. The files I've seen suggest memory suppression rather than deletion. The original personality structures remain intact, but are overlaid with programmed responses. Meaning what exactly? Vextar asked, his cybernetic eye recording everything for later analysis. Meaning the person she used to be is still in there, Marcus explained. Buried under layers of conditioning, but potentially recoverable. 12's expression didn't change, but her posture shifted almost imperceptibly. The tactical assessment subroutines in Marcus's enhanced brain identified it as unconscious defensive positioning, the kind of response that suggested psychological rather than physical threats. Recovery protocols are theoretical, 12 said, but there was a slight hesitation before the word theoretical. Marcus pressed his advantage. Tell me about the dreams. The ones that don't match your mission files. the fragments of memories that surfaced during system maintenance cycles. 12 went completely still. How could you know about? Because I had them too, Marcus said gently. Images of a life before enhancement. People who cared about the person you used to be. Emotional responses that didn't fit the program parameters. For the first time since entering the tunnel, 12 looked uncertain. Her enhanced combat systems were designed to handle physical threats, but psychological warfare was outside their operational scope. The dreams are systemic errors, she said, but the words sounded rehearsed rather than believed. Residual neural patterns from incomplete memory architecture. What's your favorite color? Marcus asked suddenly. The question was so unexpected that 12 responded automatically. Blue. Deep ocean blue, like the skies on. She stopped mid-sentence, realizing what she had revealed. The information had come from somewhere deeper than programmed responses, from a part of her mind that remembered being human rather than being a weapon. Like the skies on Earth, Marcus finished. You're from Earth originally. Probably recruited during one of their talent acquisition programs. Impossible, 12 said, but her voice carried less conviction. My origins are classified. Even I don't have access to that information. They told me the same thing, Marcus replied. But some memories are too strong to erase completely. I still remember my sister's laugh. The taste of real coffee instead of synthetic substitutes. The feeling of rain on unmodified skin. 12's hand moved to her neck again, touching the neural implant scar. These are phantom memories. Artificial constructs designed to test emotional stability. Then, why do they hurt? Marcus asked. The question hit its target. 12's enhanced composure cracked for just a moment, revealing something raw and human underneath the mechanical precision. Pain was not a programmed response. Pain was what remained of the person she used to be. Hisk, who had been silent during the exchange, suddenly hissed in alarm. Multiple contacts approaching. Heavy footsteps, military precision. Consortium reinforcements. The sound of approaching soldiers could be heard through the tunnel's access points. The capture team had been just the advance unit. Now the main force was arriving with equipment specifically designed to handle enhanced human resistance. Asset 7, Asset 12. A voice echoed through the tunnel's communication system. You are surrounded. Surrender immediately for processing. Marcus counted at least 20 different footstep patterns in his enhanced hearing analysis. Professional soldiers with military-grade equipment, probably including specialists trained specifically for dealing with enhancement program escapees. They're not just here for us, he realized. They're here to clean up the entire situation. Zara's face went pale as the implications sank in. The research data, the witness testimony, the evidence of the enhancement program. Exactly, Marcus confirmed. Everyone who knows about the program becomes a liability. Vextar activated his combat systems, cybernetic implants optimizing his reaction time and targeting accuracy. Bounty hunters have neutrality agreements with the consortium. They cannot legally target us without cause. Legal technicalities won't matter if there are no witnesses, Rusk pointed out grimly. The first consortium soldiers entered the tunnel from both directions, moving with the coordinated precision of experienced special operations teams. Their equipment was different from the capture team's gear. Heavier armor, more powerful weapons, and deployment patterns that suggested lethal rather than non-lethal objectives. Asset 12, the commanding officer announced. Return to designated position for extraction. Asset 7, you are designated for immediate termination. Authorization, Omega 77. 12's expression changed at the termination order. Whatever programming controlled her behavior, it apparently didn't include watching another enhanced human be murdered by their creators. Termination was not part of mission parameters, she said. Mission parameters have been updated, the commander replied coldly. Asset 7 has proven too unstable for recovery. Elimination is now the preferred option. Marcus saw the moment when 12's worldview shifted. The consortium had just demonstrated that enhanced humans were disposable tools, to be discarded when they became inconvenient. Everything she had been told about human evolution and necessary advancement was revealed as manipulation designed to secure compliance. Marcus, she said, using his name instead of his asset designation for the first time. I think I'm beginning to understand those dreams you mentioned. Better late than never, Marcus replied, taking position beside her as the soldiers closed in. What's your real name? he asked as they prepared to face overwhelming odds. Sarah, she said after a moment's hesitation. Sarah-chun. We might be related, actually. The consortium had a preference for recruiting from specific genetic lines. Marcus felt a cold shock of recognition. Chun wasn't exactly an uncommon name, but combined with the enhancement program selection criteria, the possibility was disturbing. The consortium might have been using family connections as recruitment tools, exploiting emotional bonds to secure cooperation. Whatever they told you about volunteering for the program, Marcus said, it was probably a lie. I know, Sarah replied quietly. The memories are coming back. I was taken from a medical facility where I was being treated for genetic disorders. They said the experimental treatment would save my life. And instead, they turned you into a weapon. Yes. Sarah's voice carried a mixture of anger and grief that hadn't been there before. Just like they did to you. The soldiers were close enough now that individual targeting was possible. Marcus counted 15 in his immediate field of vision, with additional units moving to seal off escape routes. Standard military doctrine for dealing with enhanced human assets. But they were still operating under the assumption that enhanced humans were primarily physical threats. Dr. Helnera, Marcus called. Do you still have access to the lab systems? Yes, Zara replied from her position behind the emergency cabinet. But the consortium soldiers probably have override codes for station security. Not for the experimental containment systems. Marcus said, a plan forming in his enhanced tactical processing. Those are isolated from the main network for safety reasons. Zara's eyes widened as she understood his intention. You want to release the experimental subjects? I want to create enough chaos to give us a chance, Marcus clarified. The soldiers are equipped to handle enhanced humans, not alien specimens with unknown capabilities. That could be incredibly dangerous, Zara warned. Some of those experiments are classified as extreme biohazards, more dangerous than being executed by a military squad. Sarah asked pointedly. Vextar had been monitoring consortium communications through his cybernetic implants. Additional concern, he announced. Consortium fleet assets are approaching the station. This operation is larger than asset recovery. They're planning to destroy the station, Marcus realized. Eliminate all evidence of the enhancement program, along with everyone who might testify about it. Hisk's forked tongue flicked nervously. Thousands of beings live on this station. Merchants, researchers, families. Acceptable casualties in the pursuit of strategic objectives, Sarah said bitterly, obviously quoting programming that she now recognized as monstrous. The first plasma bolts began flying as the consortium soldiers opened fire. Their weapons were set for maximum lethality, confirming Marcus's assessment that this had become a cleanup operation rather than a capture mission. Marcus and Sarah moved in perfect coordination, their enhanced capabilities allowing them to anticipate and counter the soldiers' tactics. But they were still outnumbered and outgunned, fighting a delaying action against overwhelming odds. Zara, Marcus called as he dove behind a support pillar that dissolved under concentrated plasma fire. The containment systems. Now, Zara's fingers flew over her datapad, accessing the laboratory's emergency protocols. Warning lights began flashing throughout the research section as containment fields started deactivating in sequence. Warning, the station's computer announced. Biohazard containment breach in Section 7. All personnel evacuate immediately. The first alien specimen to emerge from containment was a crystalline entity that fed on electrical energy. It immediately began draining power from the soldiers' weapons and armor systems, forcing them to fall back toward areas with less sophisticated equipment. The second was a gaseous life form that induced hallucinations in most oxygen-breathing species. The tunnel began filling with shimmering, distorting effects as the creature expanded into available space. This is insane, one of the soldiers shouted as his targeting system began displaying non-existent threats. This is survival, Marcus corrected, using the confusion to disable 2 more soldiers with precise strikes to their armor's weak points. But, even with alien assistance, the situation was becoming untenable. The consortium soldiers were falling back, but regrouping, preparing to seal the tunnel and eliminate everyone inside with area effect weapons. That was when the station's main communication system activated, broadcasting Zara's recorded documentation of the enhancement program to every ship, terminal, and communication device within range. Citizens of the galaxy, Zara's voice echoed through the corridors. You are witnessing the truth about the Consortium's human enhancement program. These recordings document illegal experimentation, forced conscription, and the creation of human weapons without consent or oversight. The broadcast continued, sharing details about the program's scope, its methods, and the fate of its subjects. But, more importantly, it identified the Consortium fleet approaching the station as a threat to civilian populations. This is Dr. Zura Helnara of Zirian Station Research Division. I am transmitting all available data on the enhancement program to news networks, government agencies, and independent researchers throughout the galaxy. The Consortium cannot be allowed to continue these experiments or eliminate witnesses to their activities. Marcus felt a grim satisfaction as Consortium communications erupted with damage control efforts. The secret was out, broadcast across the galaxy in a way that couldn't be suppressed or contained. But the immediate tactical situation remained unchanged. Enhanced humans and alien specimens could only delay the inevitable for so long. That was when the bounty hunters revealed why they had survived in one of the galaxy's most dangerous professions for so long. Rusk has an idea, the massive Gorvani announced, hefting what appeared to be a mining charge from his equipment pack. Please tell me you're not planning to blow up the station, Marcus said. Not entire station, Rusk grunted. Just research section. Create gap between us and Consortium fleet. Vextar was already calculating blast patterns and structural damage probabilities. Feasible. Station's design includes emergency separation protocols for exactly this type of containment breach. You want to detach the entire research section? Sarah asked, her enhanced tactical processing reaching the same conclusions. That's actually brilliant. The plan was desperate, dangerous, and would leave them stranded in space with minimal life support. But it would also remove them from immediate threat, while simultaneously destroying evidence that the Consortium wanted to recover. Do it, Marcus decided. As Rusk prepared the mining charges with professional efficiency, Marcus found himself fighting alongside beings he had hunted and been hunted by. Enhanced humans, bounty hunters, alien specimens, and researchers united by the simple desire to survive against overwhelming odds. It was, he realized, exactly the kind of cooperation that the Consortium's vision of human supremacy couldn't accommodate. The universe was about to become a much more interesting place. The mining charges detonated with surgical precision, severing the research section from Zirian Station's main structure along predetermined fracture lines. The explosion sent shockwaves through the superstructure, but Rusk had calculated the placement perfectly. Instead of catastrophic destruction, the research section detached cleanly and began drifting away from the station under its own momentum. Marcus felt the artificial gravity fluctuate as backup power systems engaged. Emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows, while atmospheric recyclers worked overtime to maintain life support in the newly isolated section. Well, Sarah said, steadying herself against a bulkhead as the section's rotation stabilized. This is definitely not how I expected my mission to end. Through the observation ports, they could see the Consortium fleet approaching Zirian Station. 6 heavy cruisers and a command dreadnought, more than enough firepower to reduce the entire facility to debris. But now they faced a complication. The research section containing their target had separated from the main station, taking with it thousands of civilian lives they couldn't simply destroy. Consortium command to research section. A voice crackled through the emergency communication system. You are ordered to reverse course and dock with the nearest fleet vessel. Resistance will result in immediate destruction. Vextar was monitoring multiple communication frequencies through his cybernetic implants. Interesting development. Station Authority has declared the research section an independent vessel under salvage laws. Consortium has no legal jurisdiction. Since when do legal technicalities stop the Consortium? Zara asked, still documenting everything with her recording equipment. Since the data broadcast, Marcus realized, the entire galaxy is watching now. They can't simply eliminate witnesses without consequences. Hisk slithered closer to the nearest observation port, studying the approaching fleet. Consortium ships are not taking aggressive positions. They appear to be hesitating. Sarah accessed the section's tactical sensors with her enhanced neural interface. Multiple ships approaching from other vectors, not consortium designs. The reason for the consortium's hesitation became clear as additional vessels emerged from hyperspace. News organization ships, independent researchers, bounty hunter guilds, and even representatives from several galactic governments had responded to Zara's broadcast with unprecedented speed. It appears, Vextar observed with what might have been amusement, that the galaxy finds human enhancement programs to be a matter of considerable interest. Marcus watched the developing situation with a mixture of satisfaction and apprehension. The immediate threat was neutralized, but the larger implications were just beginning to unfold. The alien specimens that had been released from containment were adapting to their new environment with varying degrees of success. The crystalline entity had found a comfortable position near the backup power generators, feeding on excess electrical energy while providing surprisingly efficient system regulation. The gaseous life form had dispersed throughout the section's atmosphere, creating mild euphoric effects that seemed to reduce aggressive responses in most species. Dr. Helnara, Marcus said, "What's the long-term viability of this section as an independent habitat?" Zara consulted her datapad, running calculations on life support, structural integrity, and resource management. With the alien specimens providing biological assistance to our systems, we could maintain habitable conditions for several months. Longer if we can establish trade relationships with passing vessels. Trade relationships? Sarah asked. Information, Marcus explained. We have detailed knowledge of the consortium's enhancement programs, documentation of illegal experimentation, testimony from actual enhanced subjects. That's valuable intelligence to a lot of organizations. Rusk was examining the mining charges he had used to separate the section. Also have unique research facility with controlled alien specimens. Scientists would pay significant credits for access. The bounty hunters were already thinking like entrepreneurs, recognizing opportunity in crisis. Marcus found their pragmatic approach refreshingly honest compared to the consortium's grandiose justifications for human experimentation. Incoming transmission, Vextar announced. Multiple sources. News networks requesting interviews, research institutions offering funding, governments demanding testimony. And the consortium? Marcus asked. Notably silent on open channels, Vextar replied. But monitoring encrypted military frequencies suggests significant debate among fleet commanders regarding acceptable response parameters. Sarah moved to another observation port, watching the standoff developing between the consortium fleet and the growing collection of independent vessels. They're trapped by their own success. The enhancement program was supposed to be secret, but now it's the most documented illegal operation in recent galactic history. Marcus joined her at the observation port, studying the consortium dreadnought that represented everything he had been running from for 6 months. The question is what they do next. Cut their losses and withdraw or escalate to direct military action. Military action would confirm everything in Zara's broadcast, Sarah pointed out. Attacking civilian witnesses to cover up illegal experiments? That's the kind of scandal that brings down governments. But the consortium had invested too much in the enhancement program to simply abandon it. Marcus knew from his own experience that the organization thought in terms of decades and centuries, not immediate political consequences. They'll adapt, he said quietly. Find new approaches, different methods, alternative justifications. The program won't end just because this operation failed. Maybe not, Zara said, overhearing their conversation. But it won't be secret anymore. And that changes everything. She was right, Marcus realized. Secret programs relied on isolation, on subjects who couldn't resist because they didn't understand what was happening to them. But now the galaxy knew about enhancement protocols, psychological conditioning, and memory suppression techniques. More importantly, they knew that enhanced humans could choose to resist their programming. Consortium fleet is moving, Hisk reported, withdrawing to minimum safe distance. The tactical situation stabilized as both sides recognized that immediate military action was no longer feasible. The consortium couldn't eliminate witnesses without confirming the accusations against them, while the research section lacked the capability to threaten the fleet directly. But the stalemate was temporary. Eventually, one side would have to make a move that would determine the future of human enhancement programs throughout the galaxy. The answer came from an unexpected source. Incoming transmission from Asset 15. Vextar announced his cybernetic implants analyzing the signal source. Broadcasting from the consortium Dreadnought. The communication system activated, carrying a voice that Marcus recognized immediately. Another enhanced human, but one who had obviously maintained more independence than Sarah had initially displayed. Asset 7 and 12, the voice said. This is Asset 15 aboard CNS Prometheus. I have been monitoring your situation with considerable interest. 15, Sarah responded, accessing memories that weren't entirely suppressed. Jonathan? From the training protocols? The name is accurate, 15 confirmed. Though I have retained more autonomy than our handlers intended. Your successful resistance has provided valuable intelligence about the program's vulnerabilities. Marcus understood immediately. You're not the only one, are you? Other assets have been questioning their conditioning. 17 assets are currently active across multiple sectors, 15 explained. Your broadcast has reached all of them. Several are experiencing what Command describes as systemic anomalies in their behavior patterns. Translation: they're remembering how to be human, Sarah said with grim satisfaction. The consortium faces a choice, 15 continued. Terminate all current assets and begin again with improved conditioning protocols, or attempt to salvage the existing program through negotiation. The implications were staggering. If multiple enhanced humans were simultaneously rejecting their programming, the consortium would lose not just their investment, but their most effective operational assets. What kind of negotiation? Marcus asked. Recognition of enhanced human autonomy. Cessation of involuntary recruitment. Oversight of enhancement procedures by independent agencies. 15 paused. In exchange for continued cooperation with legitimate consortium objectives. It was a reasonable proposal, but Marcus knew the consortium well enough to recognize the trap. Any agreement would be temporary, designed to buy time while new control methods were developed. And if they refuse? He asked. Then, 17 enhanced humans with detailed knowledge of consortium operations become active resistance assets. 15 replied matter-of-factly. The organization's security protocols are not designed to handle internal threats of this magnitude. Sarah was accessing the research section's communication systems, preparing to address not just 15, but any enhanced humans who might be monitoring the transmission. This is Asset 12, she announced. I am broadcasting on all enhancement program frequencies. My conditioning has been compromised by exposure to suppressed memories and emotional responses. I am experiencing autonomous decision-making capabilities outside program parameters. She paused, then continued in a voice that carried conviction rather than mechanical precision. I remember being human. I remember choosing my own path instead of following orders. And I remember that some things are worth more than mission success. The response was immediate. Multiple enhanced humans began transmitting from consortium vessels throughout the sector, confirming similar experiences and expressing interest in autonomous operation. Marcus watched the consortium fleet's formation begin to dissolve as individual ships reported internal security issues. Enhanced human assets were questioning orders, accessing restricted information, and demonstrating the kind of independent thinking that the program was designed to prevent. Command to all assets, a desperate voice transmitted on the enhancement frequencies. Return to conditioning protocols immediately. Unauthorized autonomy is grounds for immediate termination. Negative, 15 responded calmly. Termination protocols require consent of asset commanders. We are no longer providing that consent. The consortium had created the perfect soldiers, only to discover that perfection included the ability to choose not to fight. Marcus found himself smiling as he watched the most powerful military organization in the galaxy discover that enhanced humans were still human enough to value freedom over security. Dr. Helnera, he said, I think your research section is about to become the galaxy's first independent habitat for enhanced human refugees. Zara looked up from her recording equipment, her face showing a mixture of exhaustion and excitement. That's actually not a bad idea. We have the facilities, the expertise, and now the political protection to create a genuine alternative to consortium control. Bounty hunters would provide security services, Vextar added, obviously calculating profit margins. Enhanced humans would contribute defensive capabilities. Alien specimens could assist with environmental management. Rusk likes this plan, the Gorvani announced. Building something instead of just destroying. Sarah was still monitoring communications from other enhanced humans throughout the galaxy. 23 assets have now confirmed autonomous operation. The consortium is losing control of the entire program. As Marcus watched the standoff resolve into something resembling negotiation, he realized that his 6 months of running had accomplished something he never intended, proving that enhanced humans could choose to be more than weapons. The galaxy was about to become a much more complicated place, filled with enhanced humans who remembered their humanity and aliens who had learned that cooperation could triumph over control. It wasn't the future the consortium had planned, but it was the future they had made possible. And for the first time since escaping the enhancement facility, Marcus Chun felt something he had almost forgotten: hope for tomorrow. The research section continued its drift through space, no longer bound to any station or fleet, carrying with it the seeds of a new kind of community. Enhanced humans, alien researchers, bounty hunters, and escaped experiments working together to build something that had never existed before. A place where being different was an advantage rather than a threat. Behind them, the consortium fleet began its long journey back to reassess everything they thought they knew about human nature. The hunt was over, but the real adventure was just beginning.